Are you ready to awaken, heal, and align with your highest self? I'm Heather Len, founder of Heart Alchemy Wellness.
That is what we're working towards, the calm in the storm. Okay, so let's see what our oracle card is today. Ooh, date with destiny. Oh, she is.
Grand Raw Rising, kings and queens. Grab your coffee or your tea and enjoy some sacred healing space.
This is Apollo Control. The weird noise has been reported.
Card is going to be Bride of Atlantis. Bride of Atlantis.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and grand day. Welcome to this live episode of the Sacred Light Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Christolight. I'm the founder of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. And along with that, I also am a multifaceted, holistic, and energetic healer. I also produce and edit various content, helping spread holistic and conscious empowerment to our everyday households for all ages and all walks. And here on this podcast, Sacred Light Conversations, you get to join me and sit with me as we explore through Mother Earth the different connections and like minds around the world. And with that, we get to learn different holistic and conscious ways of life as we bridge our communities and come together in a unified consciousness. So I also go by Captain Christo, and I am aboard here on this planet Earth to help us tap into our inner Christ light within. So to help us do that, we are going to be joined by a divine sister, and she owns and has the brand Merkaba Holistics. Her name is Jade, and Jade has a very fascinating story, and it's a very one-of-a-kind story, that is. She has gone through many trials and tribulations along her journey, and some of those being more profound than some of us may be able to think. So with that, through her trials and tribulations, she has came across different forms of energy healing, such as Reiki, and most certainly Angelic Reiki, which she is a master of. So to join us, Jade will be sharing a little bit about Merkaba Holistics and what her journey has been like with the Angelic Reiki, as well as other practices and everyday life conscious experiences. So with that being said, our wonderful sacred guest of this episode, Jade. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's an honor. And for everybody out there, where are you from? And where can they connect with you locally?
Yep. Okay. So I'm in the UK. You might guess that by my accent. I currently live in St Neots, which is in Cambridgeshire. And you can connect to me via most social media. So Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Also email and my telephone number.
Wonderful. And we'll make sure to go over that for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you guys just check out the ticker down below throughout the episode, we have different places to donate. I take Cash App and PayPal. I like to split it between myself and my guest. And then, of course, you guys can ask questions always in the comments. And then also I have in the ticker the Instagram and Facebook for Jade and her Merkaba Holistics for you guys. So with that being said, let's go ahead and kick it off. Your journey has been something very inspirational from when we connected, and I heard about the backstory of, your awakening and the way that you came into your spiritual awareness of yourself, especially on a more profound level, consciously. And that being said, do you mind taking us back into that time period where you came into this newfound awareness from the trials and tribulations that you faced during that time period?
Yeah, no problem. So it was the 10th of December 2020. It was a very early morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was awakened by a loud ringing noise, and then I realised it was a smoke alarm. So I then heard my daughter screaming for me. So as soon as I opened the door, I realised the house was on fire. We lived in a 3-storey home, and as I could half see, there was just so much thick smoke, and it was very dense, very hot, and I could see the stairs had already gone. So my son Isaac, who was 3 years old, he was on the middle floor and my daughter was on the top floor with me. I tried to open her door, couldn't open it, so I said I'm going to go and get some help. Ran back into my bedroom, tried to look for my phone, couldn't find it. Opened the bedroom window and started screaming for help. Luckily there was a lady walking by round the back of the garden, and I said, I can't find my phone, please ring for help, the house is on fire. So she rang the emergency services, and in that time I'm still trying to dip underneath with all this thick smoke all surrounding me to try and find my phone. So eventually I found it, rang my partner who I had at the time, and again was screaming down the phone at him saying the house is on fire, the house is on fire. He'd literally just left for work, so it was all really confusing for me, because I thought, how can a house go up so quick? He came rushing back. I'm still hanging out the window, shouting, screaming, and there's several people coming into the garden trying to get in the back door. The door's locked, and there was a lot of commotion. So I couldn't breathe properly, so I kept going back down onto the floor and up again. And within that time of me first opening that bedroom door to actually leaving the house was 2.5 minutes, because we timed it by when the emergency services were called and also when I landed. So my partner and 2 neighbours actually came entering the house, trying to get up the first flight of stairs, which apparently they could, but couldn't get up the other flight of stairs because they'd already burnt away. Couldn't find my son in his bedroom. I can hear all this shouting. I'm like saying, I'm up here. And then all these people in the garden kept saying, you've got to jump now, Jade, you've got to jump. Now I'm thinking in my mind, my children have got out safe. They hadn't. If I'd have known that now, I probably wouldn't have jumped. So I got up, went over the bedroom window, and I just leapt out, because I thought, if I stay in this house, I'm going to die. If I jump out, I might die, because it's a 30-foot drop onto concrete. It's a very, it's just a lot of height. And as I jumped, it was a weird feeling. I just felt free. And as I landed, I heard this crunch, and it must have been multiple bones that had actually shattered in my body. But when I landed, after that crunch, I had the biggest bright white light I've ever seen. It was so euphoric, and I felt what I think my soul come out my physical body. Apparently my eyes were still awake at this point as well, wide awake, sorry. And I felt I was being lifted up into the air quite fast, but I was being held. I don't know what I was being held by, but it was the most loving feeling I've ever had, most euphoric. My body tingled all over, and then all of a sudden my soul felt like it was jumping back into my body again. And that's when I took my first breath, because apparently I was just laying there just with my eyes open with no expression or anything. So I know I died. And then a few seconds later, I heard the house go, it went boom. So all the glass came shattering down on me. I had glass sticking inside my back. I could then see that I had bones sticking out of my body. There was a lot of blood. So they decided, the people in the garden, along with my partner, decided to move me just in case more glass started to sort of break. So they took me around the corner. And at that time, I kept saying, where are my children? Where are my children? And nobody would look at me. The longer that happened, the more of the realization that possibly something isn't quite right. So I kept asking and asking. And then all of a sudden, my partner bowed his head down and just shook his head and started crying. So I made this animal roar, which I think will stay with people forever, because it was very harrowing. And that realization that your children have died and they've not got out safely is a parent's worst nightmare, especially in those circumstances. And even when I was in the ambulance after that, I kept coming in and out of consciousness, and I didn't feel like I was actually with it as such. I wasn't in my body. I sort of kept coming in and out, in and out. And then it was the realization every time I woke up of what had happened. So it was like re-traumatizing myself. And then when I eventually got to hospital, I then had to spend 7 weeks there. And they didn't operate on me for the first few days because I'd inhaled that much smoke. It was deemed too dangerous to have those operations. But I had, I think, 3 or 4 different operations that were 9-10 hours long. I had 2 blood transfusions. I was told I was dying. I was hemorrhaging that much that my whole family, and it was COVID at the time, so my whole family were around me thinking that I'm going to go. And I remember this chaplain walking in, and I said, I'm not dying today. And we became quite good friends after that, because he understood my anger, because I didn't want him coming in the room, because I knew what was going to happen. And we're not a religious family at all. We're actually a Jewish background. So that angered me even more, because I thought, why's the chaplain coming in? So yeah, it was an awful time, and it's something that you never get over. And when you're being told by different surgeons after all these operations that I've had, these are all the injuries that you've got, so I'll list them. So I shattered my heel bones, my ankles, my spine in 4 places, my pelvis, my sacrum. I severed my sciatic nerve as well. What else? My right hip socket, sternum, right wrist, and all my toes, and I think these 2 fingers as well. Had to have a skin graft on my right foot because of the big open fracture, which was another operation. So after that, all 5 consultants told me, Jade, you'll never ever walk again. And I laid there paralyzed, and I said, yes, I will. And they said, no, you won't. I said, yes, I will. And this went on every single day. They'd come in, you're never going to walk again. And me arguing again, yes, I will. I don't know where I was going to get this information from or how I was going to do it at that time, but I was adamant that I am not going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. And for me, I know the mindset is really strong. So what I did daily whilst I laid there is I meditated. And my inspiration at the time was Dr. Joe Dispenza, because I knew of his story where he broke his back in 6 places and he mentally went through his spine and did like a body scan to fix his spine. So that's what I started to do. I didn't know whether I was doing it right or not. I really didn't know until I came out of hospital and started to see healers. And they said, Jade, you're healing your own body. You don't even know you're doing it. And I was like, okay, this is great, but where do I go from here, you know? And I then started looking at alternative therapies. Later on down the line, I did go and have acupuncture, but Reiki was a really strong pinpoint for me. And this is why I do what I do now, because I know it's so powerful. And like I say to everybody, you're not going to get to the root cause at the bottom of a pill bottle. All that does is masks things. And it's just something I've always strongly believed in. I don't, medicine has its place for things, but in my book and my experience, it doesn't. It's not going to fix me. So that's why I did what I did. And strangely, I came across Angelic Reiki, and I hadn't heard of it. I knew there was different types of Reiki, but not angelic. And you know, when things just pop up and you know it's for a reason, I literally just opened Facebook and here this advert was, and I thought, this is a reason I really need to speak to this lady. And I didn't know she was local to me either. So that was another pinpoint for me. So I eventually went to see her, a lovely lady called Mel, and she spoke to me for about 4 hours. I had so many questions. I wanted to learn everything there was about Angelic Reiki. So I didn't know a lot about archangels or angels. So I did a couple of little courses to start with to get my understanding of the different types, because there are so many. And I then did my practitioner's course 2 years later after the accident happened. And I felt when I was doing that course that I already knew a lot of it. It was a strange experience. It was like a little bit like deja vu. And I do feel that my soul already knew it and was showing me, you know, you need to recap things and revise it a little bit more so you understand it more. So yeah, that is the backstory of me. And I've missed a very important part of this out. I took my first steps in 12 weeks on a Zimmer frame, and I was so elated that I managed to get up and do that. And I actually had my children's voices in my head cheering me on. Now at the time I thought maybe that is just wishful thinking, but I do now understand that that was my children, because I can communicate with them, and they are very active in the home I live in now, which is wonderful, and it is a lovely comfort to me. Was there any questions, Chris? I'm trying to think what I've covered so far.
Well, I would like to begin with just saying thank you for being here today and being vulnerable with us and sharing these very deep experiences with us. Yeah, just, you know, I give my love to you and everybody else that's affected and continuing to grow from those times. And yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So
yeah, I'd like to add that there is a few other
something
go on.
What's
go on,
up?
You go. No, I've forgotten it now. You go.
So yeah, I was just gonna ask you, you know, during these times of healing and recovering, what was it like more in depth during that stage where you started introducing the holistic or Joe Dispenza like practices into your life?
Good question, that is. I found it absolutely amazing because I know that if I hadn't have done those things, I'd still be in a wheelchair and I'd still be bedridden. But most importantly, I probably wouldn't be here on this earth because I was very suicidal for quite some time. When you lose your whole life purpose, and my purpose were my children, that's ripped away from you. And for me, I couldn't see any way forward. I was just trying to concentrate so hard on getting my physical health better before my mental state started to open up a lot more. And when I was able to then start walking, that's when my mental health started to decline even more, because I hadn't really concentrated on that enough. And again, that was very important, because if I hadn't have worked on continuing to meditate, because that is so good for your health in every single way, to basically give yourself self-care and self-love, because again, that's really important. And at the time, like I mentioned earlier, it was COVID, so that was a really isolating time for me, because the whole hospital was on lockdown, and I knew it was really bad when my family were allowed there to see me, because they didn't allow anybody to see their loved ones in hospital. So when I was out of the woods, so to speak, I then was told I wasn't allowed anybody. And for me, that was very, very painful. And I'm then thinking I'm left alone in a side room on my own for God knows how long. And I was in intensive care for 4 weeks of that. And they then had a really special meeting, and I was the only patient in the whole of Addenbrooke's. And Addenbrooke's is a very, very big hospital. I think it's ranked 3rd in the world. Very, very good hospital. And they agreed to allow me to have one person. Now, I couldn't pick at the time, because who do you pick? It was like my partner, my mother, who? So my partner at the time picked for me, and he said, have your mother stay with you. So she was allowed for 3 weeks of that. So she'd come at 8 o'clock in the morning and go at 8 o'clock at night again, and then come back the next day. And that did help me. We're not on speaking terms anymore, because she's on a different path and she's done a lot of things that I have forgiven her for energetically, but I don't have toxic people in my life. So I felt the need to remove her from my life 6 months later. But that's a different story. So yeah, but at the time it was good for me to have her, because most people, when they're poorly, they want the mum, don't they? And that was something that I needed. I needed human contact. I needed somebody that I knew and that was there for me. So moving on from that, my mind's gone blank now. I just had it then, sorry. It's gone.
Oh, no worries.
No.
He'll come back around.
Brain fog.
He'll come back around.
Oh, crikey. Oh, it's gone. Remind me what your question was, because I think I've rabbited on there.
So the question was, a more in-depth look into, what the stages were like and what the process was like when you started going through the, conscious rewiring and Joe Dispenza like self-healing.
Yeah. So yeah, every day, obviously I meditated, but whilst I was doing that, I did a real long body scan, so I concentrated on my feet first. So I went through every single toe that was broken, and I sent healing to it. I didn't know whether I was doing it right or wrongly, but I felt that it was the right thing to do. Did that. Then when I felt that that was accomplished for that day, and I would also feel like sensations whilst I was doing that. Sometimes it would go really hot, or it would go cold, or it would really tingle. Then I would move on to my ankles because I know they were severely damaged. Again, the same process. So I went from there up to my pelvis, then went through every vertebrae of my spine because they labelled what vertebrae was broken. And from memory, I know what L4 and L5 is because I had Cauda equina syndrome 18 months prior to the accident. So I knew that was right at the bottom. So I started from the bottom up and went all the way up to, I think it was L2 and no, L1, sorry. And again, same sensations going through my body. Now, whilst I was doing this, the pain would it would get intensely worse, but then it would go back down again. I was always constantly in pain, and I was on a heavy amount of medication, which was fentanyl level daily. And whilst I was doing these meditations, it would then ease off. So I knew that was helping me. Now, looking back now to here, meditation helps a lot of issues within the body and your mind. So because I got great results from doing that, I continued to do it every single day, and it was like a massive routine for me, especially when I wanted to go to sleep, because sleep for me was difficult because I would then wake up with nightmares, or I'd have flashbacks because it was replaying in my mind the whole morning of the house fire. And that went on for, I'd say, a good couple of years, but it would get less and less. So I don't have flashbacks anymore. I don't have nightmares anymore. They have gone. So I know I have worked on the right parts of my mind, not to get rid of those memories because they'll always be there, but not to the state of being in fight or flight all the time and being in so much fear. I can quite comfortably sit in front of a candle or even an open fire now, because I also had what's called EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization reprogramming. So it tends to rewire your brain to stop being in fight or flight. So that was really important to me because everything was a trigger. I'd turn the TV on, most films have fire in them, or I would avoid going out at certain times because of school pickup, or I didn't want to be around children because I was very angry at the time. I then became jealous that other people got children and where am mine. There was lots of different emotions that would go through my head and my body, because my body would start to react as well. So for me, that was a lifeline as well, because again, I'm not having to pop pills to try and numb the pain. And I was previously on antidepressants for years because I've had a substantial abusive childhood, adolescence, and then also that went into my adulthood. So I knew that it was important to come off these tablets. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell people what they can and can't do, but for me personally, that was something that I needed to do and come off them, because my mantra is you need to feel to heal. Because if you're just numb all the time, how can you get these suppressed emotions out of your body? Because it's going to affect you and it causes illnesses. And that's where I started to learn more about chakras, because when they're blocked, you then can get manifesting of physical illnesses. And when they're unblocked, then obviously the energy flows freely throughout your body and your auric field. So it all goes hand in hand, really. So yeah, I did that, and then obviously I started to walk after 12 weeks. I kept doing that every single day, bit by bit, more and more. The first time I walked, I did 10 meters. I still don't know how I managed that, really, but I think it was just sheer determination, because I am quite stubborn. And I don't like people telling me the word can't. You can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, I will. So again, changing your mindset, because if you accept that, your body is just going to accept it as well. It's just going to follow suit. So that was a big thing for me. And also teaching my consultants that there are alternative ways to help yourself. And I know that a lot of them are very scientific. That's why they do what they do. But there are options available for you.
Mm-hmm.
I then started to go to hydrotherapy because I knew that exercise, what we'd call on land, was too much pressure on my bones. So in water, you're weightless, aren't you? But you can also do a lot more by exercising your muscles, because even though I was only in hospital for 7 weeks, my muscle wastage set in within 3 weeks of that, which was quite surprising because it's the first time that's ever happened to me, because I've always been fit and healthy. My muscles were just flappy all over the place. So trying to build those up was important, because then it's going to protect my bones. So I did a lot of research while I was laying there in hospital, because I knew there was things out there that could help, and I was being hit with limitations in hospital. All they did was just a little bit of physio, trying to move around the bed, which I did by my elbows. I mean, you adapt, don't you? And then trying to slide off a bed and then onto a chair again, which took a lot of energy when you've been laying there for weeks and you can't move. So that really was what they could do for me. There wasn't anything else, and they never believed I would walk, because they kept telling me every single day. Now, I know doctors give you the worst prognosis. However, when you're being told it every day for 7 weeks, it gets a bit tiring, because you're then arguing with them again, going, yes, I will, yes, I will. And then I think they think you're nuts, because what had happened to me was a massive, massive, devastating experience. And I do think they thought I'd probably lost my mind, because they thought, she's never going to walk, because I just think she's just gone mad because she's lost her children. But that wasn't the case. And I'm very proud that I've managed to find these alternative therapies, because, like I say, I wouldn't be in this state now. I just wouldn't. Yeah, what else did I do? Acupuncture, that was great for getting feeling back, because my right leg from the knee down was completely paralyzed after I started to gain movement, and my ankle wouldn't work. So, and that's due to the spinal injuries, because it affects your lower part of your body. So for me, I needed to get that feeling back, because again, that's dangerous for me, because I could bang myself and not realize. And also it's about reconnecting your cells and your nerves to try and re-knit together again, because if you don't move, they're just stagnant. And another great therapy I did try, which was fantastic, was magnetic therapy. So it's a little bit similar to a MRI machine, but without the cover. And it sends magnetic pulses throughout your body to get these cells growing quicker, and also to recover better. So I did that, and a company, which I'm very grateful for, gave me 10 sessions complimentary, and it is an expensive therapy. I did go back the following year actually, and did pay for some more sessions myself, and also helped with the nerve pain, and that's called MBST. It's a German brand, which was great, and a lot of footballers use them because they can injure themselves and go back onto the field half the time. So it works, and it's not putting pills down your neck, because that's not going to solve anything. Like I say, it just masks it. So yeah, that's what I just kept looking for things that I could do to help myself. But Reiki for me was the biggest and most powerful therapy that I had. I had more awakenings within myself, and realized that I already knew that I was an old soul, but I didn't realize how old. until I started seeing mediums. And they even as a little girl, I said, this is my last time here. And I didn't really understand what that meant until I saw a medium, and she said, you're correct, this is your last life on this earth plane. You know, everybody has free will, don't they? So if I wanted to come back again, then I could, but that's not for me. I'd quite like to be a guide for somebody, because that'd be nice to help somebody through their next life, whether that's a new soul or somebody that's, you know, more established. But yeah, it's just, I absolutely love everything that I do, and I love educating people about it, because some people don't understand it. And the way I explain Reiki, because you can't see it happening, doesn't mean it's not working. It's like a Wi-Fi box. You can't see those waves, can you? But it works. Everything's energy. And at the end of the day, you can change that energy throughout your body and your auric field. For people that don't know, your aura is like your invisible protective layer. So yeah, it's been an eye-opener, and I know I picked this life and these experiences, and also I know my children did. And it took me a little while to get my head around that to start with, because grief can consume you. However, I am at peace with that now, which I didn't think I'd ever get to at all. And I know where they are. It's a beautiful place. And I know I'll be reunited with them when I do pass away. So on this earth. But I do get a lot of signs from them, and I've seen them, and I've heard them, and it's just, it's beautiful when that happens. And when it first happened, I did sort of have to have a head wobble and think, am I going insane? Especially when I heard my daughter speak to me. So, and I had it confirmed by several people, no, you're not going mad, Jade. And actually that was correct. And it's called a direct voice. So I then started to get more psychically aware. I've always been psychic as a child. I used to be able to remote view, and I'm trying to learn to do that again, because I blocked myself off for years through different things. So because I just constantly got spirits coming to me or talking to me through my left ear all the time, and I couldn't get their conversations because they'd be talking all over each other. Because when you've got a bright light, you know, when your crown chakra, which is the top of your head, gets opened, they get attracted to that light, and they think, oh yeah, let's go to her because she, you know, she's open to it, and she might be able to maybe communicate with us. But it was a lot as a child, and I used to see spirits, earthbound ones, ghosts as you call them, and I never feared it, which was strange for me, because I always thought it was a bit odd. Because not everybody could see things like that. Or I'd sit in assembly at school and think, oh, that's a pretty like pattern you've got around your whole being. I thought everybody else could see that, and they can't. But now I know it's the aura. So, but I just used to sit there amazed and think, oh, that's nice. Or it would change, and I'd think, why is it that colour? And then I'd, you know, turn to friends and say, can you see that? And they're like, what are you on about? And I think, oh no. But I think now people are becoming more awake. They're understanding more. There's so much information on the internet that a click of your fingers you can search for things. So it's not a taboo subject anymore. And there's so many people and so many inspiring stories, not only mine, but other people that have come through so much through holistic healing. And I think it's important to get that out there so that people can think, do you know what, I'll look into this a little bit more and maybe do it for themselves. You know, you can't force people to do anything, but if you can show that information and success stories to that, I think that is really important. I've helped so many people since being a Reiki master, and a lot of people that come to me who've got cancer, and I don't personally charge people that have got cancer. For me, it's morally not right. It doesn't sit right with me, but for other people it would. But it's important to me to try and help people. And I don't profess to get rid of cancer, but I have helped a lot of people eradicate a lot of things. So it's wonderful that I can do that for people. But I think for me, my driving force is my children, and what I do is to honour them both. And they were both very spiritual children. My daughter, it used to freak me out when I was younger. She, at the age of 3, came to me, and I'd had an operation on my ovaries. I'd had a really big cyst removed, and I came home and she said, "Let me put my healing hand on your tummy, mummy." And I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "You need healing right here," and went to where the incisions were. Now, she didn't know I'd gone to a hospital because I said, "Mummy's gone to work." And I said, "How do you know that? How do you know to do that?" And she went, "I don't know, I just know." And her hand got really, really warm, and she did it for a little while and then just skipped off like nothing, we didn't even have the conversation. And she would just come out with weird things. And then she was very, very connected to my nan and granddad, and she never met them because they passed away years before she was born. But she said, "I know them, mummy, and I need to go home." And I said, "But this is your home." She went, "No, my other home." Now I know what that means. And she would take their photos to bed every single night and sometimes get quite emotional about them because she said, "I really, really miss them. Well, I need to be with them." And I'm like, "No, you don't. You need to be here." And then looking back now, that makes total sense to me because, again, when I saw this certain medium, she said, "Sienna needs to tell you that she's now home with your nan and granddad, and you'll know what that means." And I was like, it clicked in my head and I understood it. Very hurtful still at the same time because I was still quite in the depths of grief, but it did bring me comfort because I knew and understood what she meant. And it was like age 4 or 5, she'd say, "The crystal called amethyst, it's for your crown chakra, mummy, and it does this, this and this." And I'm like, "How do you know this?" Still, I'd ask her, who taught you this? She went, "No one did, I just know it." And I think, okay. And even my son Isaac, even though he was only 3 years old when he passed away, he was such a little old man, and he would have the same mannerisms as my granddad, and he was actually born on his granddad's birthday. So to me there was a connection there as well. And I said to him once, I was like, "Come on, little Jimmy," because that's what people used to call my granddad. He said, "That's not my name anymore, it's Isaac." And I thought, oh my God. I thought, here we go, I've got 2 children that clearly are very spiritual and very open to it, which was lovely. But also at the same time, it did confuse me a little bit, but I didn't dampen that. I children are free spirits at the end of the day, and I didn't push it either. I let them come to me when they came with information, and every time it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was another little mini story of my children and how wonderful they were. Still are. They're just not physically in bodies. That's the only difference here, which is hard to get your head around, but I have, and I'm content with that now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. So now we talked a little bit about the mental power and the focus and redirecting of our mind when it comes to healing. It's just something that was really coming on to me to ask, since we talked about the mental aspect, is if there's anything that you could share for the collective, and especially for anybody else that could be going through something similar, um, what is some ways that you are able to consciously and holistically process, release, and move through your grief as well?
Yeah. I would say to anybody that's going through a hard time is don't give up. You know, there are things out there that you can do and learn yourself to open your mind up more. Even breath work. Breath work is fantastic for releasing a lot of suppressed emotions within the body. And when I first tried breath work, I cried profusely. And I knew that that was a lot of emotions that I'd buried down and thought, I'm all right. And clearly, everything's a healing journey, and I'll always be on a healing journey, and I think everybody will for different reasons. So yeah, research, have a look at what alternative therapies are, speak to people that actually have these businesses. I am open to any questions whatsoever, and I do have people going, what's this, what's that, or how can I help? How can you help me with this? And I was even out at the weekend, and I was speaking to a few ladies that clearly they were drawn to me, and they didn't understand why to start with, and it's because I can help them. And I am very passionate about helping people, because at the time no one really was helping me as such, because no one could fix my situation. So I took it upon myself to actually go online, have a look, research everything, and then go to the relevant people that knew more than me at the time. Then start doing the training if you want to. You don't feel that you have to be maybe like a Reiki master. You don't need to do the training for that to teach it. But if you want to learn stuff, there's so many courses out there that you can do. And it's all at your fingertips. Internet is a great thing, and we didn't have this years ago, where it was just books, wasn't it? And a lot of alternative therapies were sort of shoved in a corner somewhere in a library. It wasn't out there, for everybody to see. So I think we have massively turned a corner in the world with things like this, because people are starting to learn, enjoy it, teach it, and then share for other people to see what can be achieved with it. So yeah, I would look at, it depends on the situation, doesn't it? But I would look at alternative therapies and see what comes up and what you're drawn to, because that again is another signal to what you should be doing, especially when you do feel like it's a bit like a magnet, isn't it? Where you're like, I need to go this way, I need to learn this. And there's always a reason behind it. And we're always learning. This is a school of life at the end of the day. So every time we come back and do another life, sometimes we might repeat the same patterns that we haven't learned, but we're always learning. And it's the hardest plane to be on, but we also have chosen it. So I would say, yeah, don't give up, and reach out to people that that can help you, and also just talk to people about it. Don't keep it in, because yeah, I've done a lot of suppressed emotions in my time, and it's not healthy. It really isn't. And you do feel lighter and healthier to get it out of your body, and your body will thank you for it. Believe me, it does. It gets a lot better. Yeah, you don't get as many ailments, you don't get pain, you don't. Yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's a really big thing, is being vulnerable and using your resources when it comes to conscious community, holistic practitioners,
Yeah,
and just continue on doing your own research and experience for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, experience is one of the biggest keys that we have to really knowing for ourselves if something can work for us or not.
Yeah.
And until we really experience it, how can we actually fully know?
Yes.
And when you think of possibilities, opportunities, why not try something that could bring potential for healing or potential for something positive and uplifting for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It opens doors. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Positive doors.
So, what is the relationship to the Merkaba to you?
Okay, so yeah, there's a little story behind that as well. So when I first became a practitioner in Angelic Reiki, I thought, what can I call my business? Because there's so many businesses out there, beautiful names, and I had so many buzzwords in my phone, and I thought, no, that doesn't resonate with me. No, I don't like that, or I don't feel that's the right fit anymore. I remember laying there on my bed one morning, and I thought, what can I call it? And all of a sudden I had the word Merkaba come into my head, and I thought, where's that come from? Is it one of my guides that's just told me, or have I just thought of that myself? I really don't know. I've never heard of it. So I Googled it, and I was amazed at what it meant, because I thought that is so fitting to what an Angelic Reiki business is. And it's I can't get my words out now, 2-dimensional triangles. So it's a bit like the Star of David, but it's like 3D. And it actually, in Hebrew, means chariot, which is another connection to me, being Jewish. And it is also a star which is the Archangel Metatron, which he is basically what I'd call the boss, you know, that he's the top of all the archangels. And I thought, wow, this again is another sign I need to call this business Merkaba. And you know, it's light, body, my mind's gone blank now, light, body, spirit, sorry, it's gone. And that's all about what I do. So I thanked whoever it was for giving me that. And yeah, it's been wonderful to have that, and to have that being told to you as well. It was a strange experience, but elating at the same time. So then I got my brother to do a little graphics of it, and yeah, Merkaba Holistics was born.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And how many years has it been?
I was a practitioner in 2022, and then I became a master last year. So yeah, nearly 4. We're 2025 now, aren't we? So yeah, since the accident, nearly 5 years, which will be December. But yeah, it'll be since 2022 since I became qualified as such. Yeah.
Amazing. Good stuff.
Yes.
Wow. Really amazing journey that you've had. And I gotta say, the physical healing that you have been through, that is very fascinating.
Yeah.
Are there any specific herbs or supplements that you found most beneficial during that journey?
Yeah, turmeric is one of them. Brilliant. What else? I did smoke cannabis, and that did relieve a lot of pain. Some people probably wouldn't have gone down that route, but to me it's a plant. It's natural. It's not pharmaceutical. It's not made in a lab. So yeah, it really did help me, and I don't feel I have to smoke it anymore. but I know it's there if I need it. So for me, it not only removed pain, but it also helped my mental state as well. It stopped my mind from being so busy and sitting in grief. It's like I say to people in the beginning, it's like a tsunami. You feel like you're drowning, you can't breathe, you're trying to tread that water, and you just don't know where to turn because everything's just an abyss. And in time, those waves come and go, and you learn to ride those waves. And for me, child loss is possibly the worst thing you can ever experience. However, there is healthy ways that you can cope with that, and it doesn't go away, because it never will. And some people say time's a healer, but for me, it's not. Personally, it's how you cope with it, and it just eases a little bit as time goes by. So I've learned some brilliant coping strategies, and I've then passed that on to other bereaved families, and it has helped them. And also just to sit with me and just have a chat, because when you lose children, you do tend to feel like you're alienated a little bit, and people don't understand the magnitude of what you're feeling inside, whereas a fellow bereaved parent does. But every loss is unique as well, so no two losses are the same. But we do have an affinity there, and we're in a club that we never want to be in, but we are, and it's all about supporting each other. So for me, that brings me joy, because I know I can help people, because I'm further down the grief journey and healing journey than they are, because they're still quite fresh and new, and I know what helped me, so I can give them all those tools, and it's up to them whether they choose to use them, because I wasn't given them. I searched for it myself. So when it's a bit like being a coach, isn't it? By showing them, these are the opportunities you've got here. Pick what you feel is best for you and see if it works. If it doesn't, try the next one, and then try the next one. And there's so many different things. And I also offer them complimentary Reiki every year around painful anniversaries, because I know how hard that is. And when you've got somebody else showing you love and compassion, it helps. And also being in a state of calmness, laying on a bed, and it's only an hour, and it takes a bit of the pressure away for people, and that's what I love to do, because I know it hurts, and I know I'm on this planet to help people, and this experience could go either way, couldn't it? I could stay angry and very bitter, but what's that actually doing for me? Nothing. And I've always been a very caring and compassionate person anyway. So for me, I know it's important to stay on that path and keep learning, not from my own self, but everybody else around me. Because when you do work like this, you then start to make more connections, don't you? We've made a connection, and you live in America, so it's important to share these experiences with each other, because everybody's got a story, and I feel people need to hear it and learn from it and take what they need from it also.
Yes, I agree. Well said. We all carry wisdom.
Yeah.
And when I say wisdom, I mean we carry this intelligence within our human being through our experiences here. And with that comes value.
Yeah.
And that value is very unmeasurable in the way that it can help shift another's path and vibration.
Yes.
I don't know how many times, due to my will and due to my devotion to creating these spaces, whether it's live, replaying things on the broadcast, or setting up events and workshops, I can't even really fathom how many times I've just been able to witness and experience someone go through a major life change consciously within their self. And not just that, but become aware of something about their own self within that they may have already maybe had a guess of, or had maybe thought, but did not end up fully believing until they went through the experiences that showed to them their capabilities. So, with that being said, we're going to take a moment to take a pause. Feel free to hydrate your guys' selves, grab some clean water, use the restroom if you'd like. And we're going to take a little pause. Enjoy the promo.
The journey to healing starts with a single step. Are you ready to embrace your true self? Join us on April 27th at the Tranquility Salt Cave in Columbus, Ohio for the New Moon Inner Child Healing Sanctuary, led by Christolight from Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. This transformative event guides you through inner child wounding education, sacred journaling, and a powerful guided meditation for just $55 from 4 to 6 p.m. EST. As a bonus, immerse yourself in the tranquil environment of the Salt Cave with a 50% discount on a 1-hour halotherapy session, available for just $20 more from 6 to 7 p.m. EST. Spaces are limited, so don't miss this unique opportunity to reconnect with your authentic self and release emotional baggage. Book your spot now by scanning the QR code or visiting tranquilitysaltcave.com/events. If you have any questions, DM Christolight or call Tranquility at 614-859-3419. Your journey to healing starts here. Embrace the new you under the new moon.
A New Moon Inner Child Healing Sanctuary, taking place for the first time ever at Tranquility Salt Cave in Columbus, Ohio. Get your ticket today, as spaces are limited. Any questions, just reach out to myself, Christolight, and I will gladly guide you along the way. Yeah, so for everybody out there, if you guys are not aware yet, I am going to be holding my first ever event at the Columbus Tranquility Salt Cave. So that'll be a really cool experience. We're going to be doing some inner child healing, and it'll also be the Taurus new moon on the 27th of April this month. And we'll be doing some journaling, education on the inner child healing, as well as what masculine and feminine wounding can look like and how it can pattern through our mother and father lineages. And then we'll journal out these patterns that we can identify in our everyday life. And there will be space for us to share together as a community, and then receive some guidance, some tips, and some other holistic ways to help with either releasing, accepting, integrating, or empowering. And then after that, we will transition into a sound healing guided meditation that I will lead. And that will be coming up on the 27th of April again for you guys, Columbus, Ohio at the Tranquility Salt Cave. Limited spaces, so definitely get your tickets if you're really interested. And reach out if you have any questions. I'll gladly answer them for you guys. Welcome back, Jade. How are you?
Thank you. I think I lost my connection there. It just sort of
Yeah,
started spiraling. I thought, oh no.
it was okay though. It was a great opportunity to kind of just take a pause and let people kind of refresh themselves.
Yeah.
So, wow. Thank you so much for just the level of vulnerability you've shared tonight. It's been, again, very inspirational, and there's really not really words I can put to the magnitude of what that could really be like, to really have to process and go through that. Yeah, it's a very honorable walk that you're on.
Yeah, it could break a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So during your journey of recovery, who are some of your biggest credits that you could give to your support system?
Oh, my family. I've got a big family. I'm one of 6 children. So although we live, some of us live quite far apart in the UK, however, we are very close. We continue to be close. They are a great support network for me, and I've got a fantastic group of friends. I call them my tribe, because they are, yeah, they're massive supporters, and they're always like, they call me a warrior princess. Which I do chuckle about, but I also understand the meaning behind that and the words, and it is true, you know. I've come back fighting, and I do believe that this will then help other people to understand that you know, the possibilities are endless. And a lot of my friends would try and get their head around, you know, how do you get up every day? How do you actually still function? How do you do this? And when I tell them all what I do, it's like, these are the reasons why, and holistic therapies help me. So I continue to do that because I know it works. You know, don't break something if it's not, you know, don't fix something if it's not broken. So I continue to do this as a self-care routine for me, in order to keep going and to keep learning, really. And then also it's a ripple effect for other people, because then they're like, oh, how, you know, what do you do then? Or how do you help this? And can I try this? Which is great, because it's opening their mind up to different alternatives and possibilities for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds like you're a wisdom keeper.
I think so, yeah. I always used to be told that I got an old head on young shoulders.
Right. There ain't no way you can go through that magnitude of something and be in the state that you're in now.
Yes. Yeah. I do admit, you know, in the beginning, even when I first smiled, I felt guilty, because I thought, how can I smile when this has happened? And you learn to stop feeling like that, like just like blaming yourself, because your life path is written out for you. You have free will to, you know, you can steer off things, but these sort of events are going to happen. If it wasn't a house fire, it would have been something else. And for some people, it's hard for them to understand that. But my children had a life contract of not being on this earth plane for that long. They needed to come and learn what they needed to, and have the most unconditional, beautiful love from their mother. And that's enough for them. And then they've gone again. So they didn't need to fulfill a whole life of maybe somebody that passes away at maybe 80, 90 years old. That wasn't their choice, and that wasn't their contract to have. And it's also my contract that I needed to experience and learn from this as well. And it's taught a lot of people compassion, and to actually change their lifestyles a little bit as well, for the better as well. Yeah. So what has been a very negative experience has got positives in it. Every experience has that. It might be hard to look for those in the beginning, but they are there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I really like talking about is just the vibratory field of the human being. And when you really study the vibratory field and look at, as Nikola Tesla says, the human being as energy, vibration, and frequency,
Yes.
you realize that you are indefinite in energy.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is just because you're experiencing something doesn't mean it's finite. Doesn't mean it's also stopping you from continuing to grow, accelerate, and revolutionize. So with that being said, when you realize that mentally and you adjust your perception to that belief system, that knowingness, then you start tapping into your living energy or your living self, which is eternal energy. And with that, you're not mentally putting those barriers on yourself that, oh, I am, going through this finite injury, or I'm going through this super drastic and heavy ailment that is just so intense and so heavy on you. You kind of zoom out a little bit from that attachment, that body consciousness, as we can also call it, where you're
Because we're not the body.
where you're perceiving from your third dimensional self. And when you zoom out of that, you zoom out and you detach from that. And then you can start to really mentally process that, oh yeah, that's right. I'm an observer, a spiritual soul being that is observing and experiencing through this human avatar and experiencing temporary, moving, and passing by experiences. And that includes the injuries, the imbalances, and anything else that's happening within my auric field, my energy field. It's changeable.
Yes.
And it's ever changing.
Yeah.
So I'm not bound to any illness. I'm not bound to any injury. I'm not bound to never be able to repair.
Yeah.
Unless I believe that. And then through that belief, I then command as the sovereign I am being of this vehicle to those commands.
Yes.
And then the vehicle abides by those commands and starts to go into that direction. But then you can do vice versa, just like our wonderful sister Jade did, and is a beautiful, beautiful example of what I've spoken on so many times in different spaces of the power of the mind and your subconscious programming. And what is it that you're aligning your subconscious as well as your belief system with? Are you aligning it with the things that others are limiting upon you, such as a doctor telling you that you'll never walk again, or they find cancer, they say that you'll only be able to live for half a year, but then you completely reverse your diet and you go raw vegan and you juice fast, and next thing you know, you reverse all of that. And then you come back even stronger and better than you were before you even had that. So mindset goes a long way, guys. It really does. And when we look at the human being from a standpoint of the aura, the aura has many different layers or subtle bodies within it. And some of those are the physical body, the energy body, the mental body, emotional body, and astral body. They all have their different dimensions and aspects that connect us to our multidimensional self. And with that, when you kind of come into an awareness of how these different layers or subtle bodies operate, you can begin to more finer detailed attune these different subtle bodies of yourself, as in the mind, the mental body, the emotion, the emotional body, and the physical body. And the connecting point is the chakras, the energy centers, the meridians. They are basically like the gateways or the bridges for these other dimensions to then be experienced through your physical. And through that, it gives you your health, your wellness, your function, your capabilities, your manifesting, your magnetism. And your magnetism is basically your current. It's your vitality and currency of your physical life here on the earth. So the more you have these things cleared, your centers, your energy field, then you're able to do things that are more extra dimensional, I guess would be the word, compared to the third dimensional, where you're manifesting more quantum-like, you're accessing more higher dimensional versions of your energy more naturally. And along with that, your DNA is activating and your DNA is unlocking. And with that, gives you those dormant genes that are connected to many different things. Allegedly, they say could be star family DNA, but there's also ancestral DNA as well. So with all that being said, I just wanted to share all that because as vibratory and energetic beings, just like anything else in this material world, as we know from the laws of science, is vibrational, ever changing. And one thing is for fact is that everything that is subject in this material world is bound to change. So with that being said, mentally try to let go of those finite realities when you're going through something, such as a negative experience, an injury. Try to remember that you're a vibrational being that can mentally shift your vibration. Through your mind, intentions, and actions, you're able to move through anything. And then you travel beyond this life as well. And with that, there is nothing that can really stop you because you're here present. And as long as you're present, there's divine spark and purpose in you.
100%.
I don't know where all that came from, but oof.
Your higher self, maybe.
It'll be a great mystery, they say.
Mm.
Was it I or was it the other I? Both.
Most likely, yeah.
Oh man. So I love to talk a little bit about Angelic Reiki. Please
Yeah.
fill us in on this wonderful practice.
Yeah. So for people that don't know the difference, so there's Azure, which is, I'd say, more traditional Reiki. Angelic Reiki is a little bit different. So I'm attuned to the kingdom of light, and when you're attuned to that, you basically become what I'd call like a channel for angels, archangels, and galactic beings to work through you and then onto the person that you have got on your therapist table, for instance. And these angels will work through myself and onto their auric field and within their body and into their soul as well. So it's mind, body, soul. And generally for Angelic Reiki, you don't touch all over the place on a person's body. It generally is the shoulders, where you take them up, not physically out of their body as such, but you take them on a journey, a healing journey. And you also place your hands on their heart chakra and their solar plexus, which is the tummy area where your belly button is, just above it. So that is generally where you would place your hands on your client. But sometimes, and it has happened, where I feel guided to go to other parts of the body. So it could be the knees, or it could be maybe their ankles, or around their stomach area. And I had a lady once that came to me, and she admitted it afterwards because she said, I wanted to test you. So I was like, okay. She said, why did you stay around my stomach area where my gallbladder was? And I said, because you needed healing there. And she said, but you didn't know my gallbladder had been removed 2 weeks before. I said, no, I hadn't. However, I knew my hands needed to go there. So she's like, but how do you do that? And I said, well, it's difficult to explain, but you just know. And you actually feel, and you can call your guides in as well whilst you're doing this. And you also, before you do any practice, is you ground yourself, because that is so important, because you can take on a lot of that person's pain, or they could even have attachments. And it doesn't mean that they're demonic attachments, because you can have all sorts of different attachments throughout your life. And yeah, grounding is a massive thing, and also protecting. So I asked my archangels for that. So Archangel Michael, which a lot of people will know about, is for protection, and Archangel Sandalphon is for grounding, and Archangel Raphael is for healing. So you call all these different archangels because they all have a specific role. And a friend of mine said, you don't call a plumber to fix your cooker, do you? So they all have a specific role, and that's important. So when you're asking these angels for assistance and to work through you, you are calling them in your mind, and also that they're already there, so they understand it, and you can actually feel, I do anyway, they all have got a different vibration that they're set at. So when a different one comes in, and you recognize that. And there's other things that you can use. My Angelic Reiki master makes angel sprays that are set at that frequency, which are beautiful sprays. They smell absolutely amazing, and that again can enhance the experience of Angelic Reiki session. I also use tuning forks. Not many people do that, but I feel I think that's a nice added extra to also help break up any blockages that you may have within your chakras. A pendulum, crystal pendulum that you'll go around that person's body, and if it's quite thin parts of their body, there could possibly be injury there. So when you've done all the healing, you've put the beautiful energy into every single chakra, because they're all at different colours, and it's the colour of the rainbow. 7 is a very magical number, very spiritual. So there's a lot of sevens and a lot of things. So, and there's also 7 chakras within your heart, which some people don't know. But the main are the 7 chakras that go a lot along your spine. And for that, when I said about the pendulum, when you've done your first part of that, and you've done all the healing that needs to go to that person, and it always goes to where it's needed. It's not just it flies off everywhere. It gets concentrated in the areas that is needed for that person. And as an added extra, you would then go around the whole body again with a pendulum and check to see if the auric field has widened, because if it hasn't, that you need to put more healing there. I've never had that happen before. It always has got wider, but I know that if it needed to be done, it will be done, and if it takes longer, it takes longer. But generally between 45 and 60 minutes per session for people. And for Angelic Reiki, it lasts between 21 and 28 days per session, but it all depends on what that person's come for. So for instance, somebody that's suffering with cancer, may need weekly sessions to start with and not monthly ones. Some people might just have maybe 2 or 3 sessions and feel that they're okay for a little while. That's entirely, fine for them. But I do feel that it needs to be a regular practice in order to keep that equilibrium going, because you can go to the gym, for instance, for a couple of times. That's not going to make you lose weight. You need to do it consistently. And it's the same for holistic therapy. It's not just one-offs for people, but if they feel like they just want to try it, then that's okay. But I do have people that come regularly, and they know when they need to come back. They know the time span of 21 to 28 days, but sometimes that might be a little bit less, or they might go maybe 2-3 days later out of that time span. But they know, which is great, because they're actually recognizing what's going on in their body and how they're feeling. And it's about connecting your mind, body and soul together, because it can get separated over time with different experiences and circumstances within your life. You could be going through something quite difficult, and then you're not aligned. So to come to somebody like me, it's a beautiful experience. I love doing it for people, because not only am I helping the healing process there, I'm also receiving it as well. So it's like a double whammy, really. And the energies are just wonderful, and every person that comes to me feels great afterwards. They go out that door with a smile on their face and they're happy, and they do sleep better, a lot better than they did before. So yeah, it's a beautiful experience to try out if you haven't tried it. But there's also other different types of Reiki out there, but for me, Angelic Reiki is my thing, and I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah, I'm well versed in a few different Reikis as well, but I actually was not fully familiar with Angelic Reiki. So I am attuned to the traditional Japanese, the Usui.
Yeah.
I'm also attuned to the Egyptian called Sekon, which is named after Sekhmet. And I'm also attuned to the Ascended Masters as well. So yeah, I love Reiki. Reiki is just a beautiful baseline practice to have under your tool belt to really just allow you to be connected to that 0 point energy, and to have it kind of flow through you in the times that it's just consciously necessary, without even really having to pay attention or put much focus into it. The more open your channels are, the more you'll have that energy just flow through you in the moment naturally. It's almost like a spidey sense, or almost like a Spider-Man, and like
I know what you mean.
almost like a superhero power-up move. I don't know, it's amazing, because Reiki, again, it's a universal consciousness. It's just universal Christ energy. So literally, as instruments and vessels, all we have to do is just surrender to it and attune to it, and then it'll literally come through us and do exactly what it needs to in its divine order to bring balance and restoration to wherever it's coming into contact with. Pretty fascinating. So to wrap up, Jade, kind of refresh everybody a little bit about where you're located, where they can meet up with you to book services in person locally, as well as how they can contact you online, and what it is that you do offer. Uh-oh. She's frozen. All right. We'll wait a moment. for her to come back. And then we will be closing out. Thank you to all of you that have been tuned in. And thank you to all of you that will be tuning in. There she is.
I'm back again. I think it might be my children interfering with the electronics. Playing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be either.
So yeah, feel free to just refresh everybody on where you're located, how they can get in contact with you, and what it is that you offer.
Yeah, so I'm in the UK and I offer Angelic Reiki. I also offer child and adolescent Reiki as well, and also distant. So I can send healing anywhere in the world, because when you've got the intent there, it's exactly the same. It's the same powerful experience as you would be lying on a therapist's bed. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and also Facebook. And I've also got my telephone number on there and my email address. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact me. And yeah, I will answer your queries. And it's Merkaba Holistics, if you've forgotten.
Awesome. So for everybody, this was Jade, Merkaba Holistics, and wow, what an extraordinary path and journey you've had. Thank you so much for joining us and being vulnerable, sharing a little bit of your heart, and a little bit of your soul journey. And I gotta say, it's definitely empowering and inspiring. And may we continue to be the ripples of change that we wish to see in this world. And thank you for doing so through your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Jade, you have a good night over there in the UK. And for everybody else, have a blessed and beautiful night or day wherever you are. Wholeness and balanced love.
Peach selenite, blue tiger's eye, Palo Santo, Ra rising codes, Egyptian pantheon, Hathor, beloved goddess Hathor, divine mother of love, fertility. I am opening my mind, body, spirit complex to allow you to channel and bestow upon my being your pure, divine, feminine energies, caressing and nurturing my mental, emotional, and physical well-being. I am surrendering my wounds and distortions for unconditional love, transmutation, and clearing. I am allowing the fertility of Hathor to flow through me and help me cultivate, harness, maintain, and stabilize my Kundalini life force energy with boundaries, respect, and willpower.